We are live right now on Twitch and StreamYard. Welcome to this week's edition of CNN, Current Nerd News. And okay. Got a lot to talk about and only about an hour. So right. Without any further ado, let's get on with it. And we are live on Twitch right now, so feel free to drop any questions or comments that you have in the chat. Main focus for tonight will be the Oscars. My sort of reaction / recap of the Oscars, who got nominated, who won, and I'll be starting off with the recent series on Disney Plus called Empower. And this is a series that folks who have been following the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like not necessarily the last 15 years. It's crazy to think that the MCU is 15 years old. But it highlights the women of Marvel. The first episode talked about Black Panther and how, well, I guess Black Panther and Black Panther Wakanda Forever highlighted the characters of Nakia, Queen Ramonda, the Dora Milaje, Shuri, and not just the characters themselves, but also the women who portrayed them, and how Black Panther did so much for representation, not just of people of color, not just for Black people, but specifically for Black women, right? The portrayals of Black women in superhero movies before Black Panther, there weren't that many. In fact, I can't really think of any. Now that I think about it, but yeah, check out the Empower series on Disney Plus. The first episode is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I made it to the second episode, which was Captain Marvel, and they interviewed Brie Larson, talked about her sort of Marvel origin story and how she got into Marvel and all that. Definitely excited to see more of the Dora Milaje in hopefully Black Panther 3. Who knows? Definitely, I'm looking forward to the Marvels as well. The Marvels, not just seeing Carol Danvers, but also seeing Monica Rambeau, who will be played by Tiana Paris, who made her MCU debut as Tiana Paris in WandaVision. She did a phenomenal job, as well as Letitia Wright as Maria Rambeau, who at this point in the MCU has died, unfortunately. She passed away during the blip. And Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. Just want to make sure that I said that right. Yep, Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, who we saw in Miss Marvel. Yep, in Miss Marvel, which was a teaser for the upcoming The Marvels movie. So definitely looking forward to that. I want to say that movie got pushed back to November of this year, November of 2023. So look for that in theaters. Can't remember the exact date off the top of my head. Release date off the top of my head, but check out Empower on Disney Plus. Moving right along. Mandalorian, season 3, episode 3. Also, this episode of CNN will contain spoilers for Mandalorian and for Wu-Tang and American Saga. So if you are not caught up on either of those shows, definitely leave this podcast. Go catch up on go catch up on Mandalorian and Wu-Tang and American Saga, and then come back. You've been warned. But Wu-Tang and American Saga, it's based on a true story of the Wu-Tang clan. I highly recommend everybody watch the first two seasons first. Season three, unfortunately, this is the farewell season. And oh, actually, no, first my bad. Mandalorian season three, episode three. On this episode, we see the amnesty program. We see that now that the Mandalorian, it takes place post Return of the Jedi. This is about a 30-year time jump in the Star Wars canon between Return of the Jedi, between I guess the Battle of Endor, which was the end of the Empire, Return of the Jedi to the Force Awakens. That's about 30 years. I don't remember the exact. I do not remember the exact years in terms of like BBY or ABY off the top of my head. But during that time gap, the Empire was overthrown, but then the regime changed from the Empire to the New Republic. We saw in like the first two seasons that really the calls for justice and peace in the galaxy were maybe like fledgling at best. A lot of the local systems went into the hands of like the local warlords and ex-imperial officers and generals took control, like we saw in the first season, Moff Gideon, and there was IG-88. But now that planet that we first saw Mando on in season one of The Mandalorian, Carl Weathers' character, he's pretty much made it a democracy. Just gonna wait for the. All right. You see, Carl Weathers' character, he's pretty much made himself magistrate, and now that planet is pretty much democratic at this point. So yeah, that's a nice little update from season one. Season three, it is now a democracy. It's now a peaceful democracy. There was that scene with the pirates, and for this particular episode, we see that Mando has. Well, last week we saw Din Djarin go and bathe in the sacred waters of Mandalore. Bo-Katan, he walked into the waters, he fell, and then Bo-Katan came and rescued him, and now she has bared witness to him sort of becoming Mandalorian again, him restoring his honor as a Mandalorian. He is now officially Mandalorian by creed, and he will not be taking his helmet off again. This is the way. We also saw a window into the amnesty program, where now that the New Republic has officially been established, we saw Coruscant. And so this is, I guess Coruscant was, I think, rebuilt, because I feel like we see Coruscant in Andor, and I think at one point it became like a trash planet, which, well, that was there's a video game from like 2006 or 7 called Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, which I'm not entirely sure if that video game is official Star Wars canon. My bad, guys. There's too many franchises to keep track of. And in that in that video game, I played the first one. I did not play the second one. First one, you go to Coruscant, which wasn't called Coruscant. It was called like it had some other name during the Galactic Civil War, and then it was run by a bunch of Jawas who were pretty much scavengers. So by the time that Mandalorian season 3 episode 3 rolls around, I guess at this point Coruscant is the capital of the New Republic. It was the capital planet of the Galactic Republic. Old Republic, I'm not entirely sure, but I know the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars, that was the capital, and there was the Jedi temples like we see Coruscant. It shows up in the prequels, it shows up in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and we're seeing it now in The Mandalorian. And this amnesty program, there's pretty much anybody who had worked for the Empire, not all of them were guilty, and not all of them might have believed in the tenets of the Empire. Many of them had probably just followed orders or had no choice. So pretty much it's pardoning them for any crimes they might have committed, knowingly or unknowingly, and welcoming them into the New Republic. Almost not really like the GRC and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but kind of. Pretty much bringing them into the fold and helping them move forward and support the New Republic. And so we have Dr. Pershing, who we saw the first season of The Mandalorian. He was a cloning doctor who I think we see his logo, the logo on his uniform that we saw in season 1 of The Mandalorian was the same logo of the cloners who we see in Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, Camino, Camino, which was a planet beyond the Outer Rim. That was the planet where Emperor Palpatine had secretly created all those clones for the clone army. They were all clones of Jango Fett, and we saw him in season 1. He has come back, and he went before the Republic Senate. Yep, he went before the Senate, gave his speech about how when he was very young, his mother had died of some like organ disease or whatever, and he said how like if cloning human organs was allowed, then she would have survived. And at that point, he made it his life's work to go into the cloning industry or replication industry. So I think with The Mandalorian, they're starting to fill in the gaps between episode 6 and 7. There's a lot of history there. How do we get from the Empire to the New Republic, which clearly was a fragile government considering when episode 7 rolls around, it's like we've got the Hosnian system, and we see the Hosnian system get blown up and the rise of the First Order. I don't know if we're going to see that in the series. Maybe not this season of The Mandalorian, but maybe season 4. Who knows? But I'm very excited for this season of The Mandalorian. Looks very promising. And I definitely have to go back and watch all. You see, now with Star Wars The Clone Wars, I have been watching it on again, off again for the past like 2 years. So I have to go back to, I think I made it to like halfway, like maybe a little more than halfway through the 3rd season. I want to say, I forget exactly how many seasons there are, but I know there's either 6 or 7 seasons. And I know the final season, they brought back the show in 2020. I think the show was on the air from 2008 up through 2014. So I think 6 seasons when it was on Cartoon Network. 2014 it went off the air. That was the same year that Star Wars Rebels started. I watched Star Wars Rebels in real time. I know there's a lot that they explain in Star Wars Rebels in terms of like the Mandalorians and the Death Watch. Jon Favreau even shows up, I think, in Clone Wars and Rebels as the same character. Bo-Katan, the same actress who plays Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian, also did the voice of Bo-Katan in Clone Wars and Rebels. So I definitely got to go back and watch the first 6 seasons of Clone Wars, then watch the 4 seasons of Rebels. I did watch, I think, like the first 2 seasons in real time. And the first 2 seasons of Rebels I watched in real time. I enjoyed that show while it lasted. It was a fun. It was a fun show that took place post Order 66, but pre A New Hope. So we start to see sort of when the Rebel Alliance was just starting out and the resistance against the Empire was, again, fledgling at best. There were Rebel cells. There was no Rebel Alliance. There was no established Rebel base yet. So a lot of these in-between stories, which I'm liking. I'm enjoying like the filler stories, the in-between stories. So I got to go back and I got to check out all of these. Different shows about the Mandalorian to kind of fill in, so I can fill in the gaps and fully understand the context of where this show takes place and Din Djarin and the Death Watch and the Mandalorian. There's a lot of like Star Wars lore that I will definitely be going back and rewatching and doing my homework on, because Mandalorian is such a great show. All right. I know that was a mouthful on Mandalorian episode 3X03. On to Wu-Tang and American Saga, season 3, episode 7. This episode saw sort of the downside, I guess, of running a business, especially like the downside of the music business, I guess, like at that time. Like I realized that back then, like back in the 90s when you were starting out like in music, and I feel like today in the music industry, specifically in the rap game today, we don't have any there aren't any crews, there aren't any like groups or brands in the in the in the rap game today, and that's due to I guess the technological advancements we've made over the last 30 years. But if you just go back even 30 years, 1993, early 90s, you had different rap crews and rap groups across the country, and that is due to the fact that you were limited by the technology of that time period of the early 90s. There 30 years ago there was no internet, there was no StreamYard, there was no SoundCloud back then. So in order for you to make music, like we saw in the first two seasons how they really had to hustle and grind, and technology did not give you the luxury of starting your rap career from your basement, having a microphone and a computer, starting it from your basement. Like that wasn't a thing back then. You had to go out and forge connections and get your foot in the door into these different companies, because especially because the 90s, that was when a lot of the like big rap companies, Def Jam Records, Elektra, Sony Records, that was when a lot of like the big record companies started to come in, and like it became a business, it became a whole business, a whole industry. That's when the music industry really took off, was in the 90s. So you were forced to make your music and go and spread the word, and maybe you needed to kind of rise, kind of come up with a group. You needed to band together. You and all your buddies had to form a group, or a crew, not necessarily a rap group, but also maybe like a crew that you were with. Like in New York, there was the Juice Crew. Juice Crew was Roxanne Shante, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, God rest his soul. You had Bad Boy Entertainment, Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia, Little C's, Lil Kim, Diddy, who I don't even know what he's gone by like 12 different titles. Yep, Diddy, Biggie, Lil C's, even Native Tongues, which was more of a brand. You had coming out of Native Tongues, you had other groups under that brand of Native Tongues. You had Jungle Brothers, you had Tribe Called Quest, you had independent artists like Queen Latifah and Moni Love, all under Native Tongues. Oh, Black Sheep, yep, Black Sheep as well. So at that time, you were forced to know people in the industry, or you were forced to at least meet people who had either you yourself had to have connections, or you need to know somebody who had connections, or know somebody who had connection. Again, that's 6 degrees of separation. You need to have like max 6 degrees of separation between you, the artist, and someone who was in the industry. So yeah, and they were limited by the technology of that time, and there wasn't a whole lot of artist freedom back then. It's a trade-off, because today, my generation, Gen Z, many of us have grown up on SoundCloud rappers. SoundCloud, it's a free service. You can put your music out there. Even some people will promote their podcasts on SoundCloud as well. And, you pretty much make the music yourself, and you have that creative freedom. And with the internet, you can, your music will get to people all over the world. Like it's just so much easier, so much easier to make music nowadays on like just on your own. A trade-off of that is my generation, we have SoundCloud rappers. We don't have crews. We don't have a whole lot of brands. Maybe Dreamville. Dreamville, Young Money, but like I guess younger Gen Z, anybody who's in like middle school, high school now. Um, there's no crews anymore. There's only independent artists, and I feel like there's just a lot of the 15 minutes of fame. You have like one, maybe two hits, and then all of a sudden falling off. So so we saw season 3, episode 7. We saw some of the turmoil, some of the confrontation within the Wu-Tang Clan, within the group, and everyone's like contract disputes and studio politics. So we saw that side of the music business and of the history of the Wu-Tang Clan, which is by far one of the greatest rap groups ever. Right, going on the record saying that Wu-Tang Clan, they are one of the greatest rap groups ever. All right, and I definitely think that my generation, anybody who's a part of my generation, Gen Z, check out this series, check out their music. One thing that I remember, the RZA, he was interviewed on The Breakfast Club. I think this was maybe 2021. I want to say either 2 or 3 years ago, and it was about the. I think it was 2021, because I think that was when the second season of Wu-Tang and American Saga had had shown up on Hulu. And RZA, he was interviewed on The Breakfast Club, and DJ Envy had said how when the show first came out in 2019, he was on the fence about it, because a lot of times when you have a show or movie that's based on a true story, inspired by true events, especially shows like Wu-Tang and American Saga, where it's supposed to be about the come up of the Wu-Tang Clan and how they all started out in Staten Island and growing up in the early 90s. It's like, when you lived through that time period, especially if you're from that environment, especially if you grew up in that environment at that time, you don't want to see a movie or a TV show about that time period, about that environment, and have them get it wrong, and then you're disappointed. You don't want to see them like kind of just screw it up horribly. So that's why initially DJ Envy was on the fence about Wu-Tang and American Saga. And he said he said in the interview how he eventually watched the show, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it, and I'm sure that you know 20, 30 years from now, when they when I guess all of us who are growing up, Gen Z, you know another like 20, 30 years, when all of us are old enough to have gone to film school, old enough to have, yeah, when all of us are like kind of old enough to have gone to film school and have grown up in the 2010s or grown up in the 2020s, and one of us, and one of us Zoomers makes a show or a movie, whether if it's historical fiction or historical fact, about growing up in the 2010s or the 2020s, I personally would not want to watch said movie or said movie or series, 20, 30 years from now, and then be disappointed, and have them get it wrong. But that's not the case with Wu-Tang and American Saga, according to DJ Envy, because again, I was not alive back then. So check out Wu-Tang and American Saga on Hulu. Before I go into the Oscars, I just wanted to point out that I am wearing the shirt that I'm wearing tonight. Here, I'll stand up. It says Reign Eternal. This is a shirt. You guys can buy this on the website Nerd Riot. They are the merch partners of New Rockstars. New Rockstars. They've got Eric Voss and Tommy Bechtold, and they're pretty well known. They're a pretty well known YouTube channel in this space. Of they pretty much talk about kind of like what I talk about. They talk a lot about Marvel, about Star Wars, about DC. Recently, they've done like breakdowns of The Last of Us. So subscribe to New Rockstar. Subscribe to the Deep Dive as well. That's their second channel. Uh, Go support New Rockstars. New Nerd Riot. I think nerdriot.shop. That's their merch partner. So yeah, and cop this Kang the Conqueror Reign Eternal. Yep. It looks like this. It's Kang the Conqueror says Reign Eternal. I had to go and cop that from the Nerd Riot, from the Nerd Riot website. So definitely go check that out. Go check out New Rockstars and go and copy some of this merch. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was all right. It was all right. Wasn't the best, wasn't the worst Marvel movie ever. I think still to come this year, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I am so excited for that movie. It's my graduation present. And we've got Marvels. So we'll see how those are. On to the main event, onto the title of today's episode. You saw it, it's in the title, Oscars recap. Now, I'm probably just going to gloss over these. I know Khalil, shout out to Khalil on the Comic Boys podcast. Go check him out. He did an episode. He has guest starred. He's my OG guest here on Cobbs Corner. And I went and did an episode on his podcast recently because his co-host was MIA. And he had brought up the Oscars. I know he did an entire episode on his podcast, his reaction to the Oscars. So I will definitely put a link in the description to his YouTube channel. So go and check it out on YouTube. And I really think you guys got to watch his content on YouTube and not just listen to it on a podcast streaming platform, because when you watch it on YouTube, he actually has visuals. So shout out to Comic Boys Podcast. Love you, Khalil. Can't wait to work with you again. Okay, so that said, on to the main event this evening, Oscars 2023. So the nominees for Best Picture, I will kind of run through them briefly. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Daniel Kwan, Jonathan Wang, and Daniel Scheinert. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. I know this movie I heard a lot of great things about it, and it actually won Best Picture at the Oscars this year. Heard a lot of great things about it, and I'm definitely going to check it out. I want to say it's on Showtime. It's got the kid from Indiana Jones, Ke Huy Quan. Yeah, Ke Huy Quan. Yep. He was in the movie. Jamie Lee Curtis. She also won an Oscar for, I think, Best Supporting Actress. Jamie Lee Curtis, she's just amazing. Michelle Yeoh, everything she's done from Crazy Rich Asians to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I will for sure. Now I have to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. I saw the trailers for it. It looked amazing. A nice alternate reality movie. It's a nice alternate reality, time travel movie that's not even a part of the MCU. So, the power of independent filmmaking triumphs again. Check out Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is available to stream. Where is it? It is available to stream on Paramount Plus. Sling TV with a premium subscription on Amazon Prime. Available to rent. Showtime Anywhere, YouTube TV, Vudu. But the main streaming service that is available on is Paramount Plus, which I don't have. So I'll be renting that movie at some point and letting you guys know what I thought. Banshees of Inisherin. with Banshees of Inisherin with Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson. I have seen the Barry Keegan, K. I think he was in Eternals, but yeah, Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. I know Brendan Gleeson. He hosted Saturday Night Live. I think last year he hosted Saturday Night Live. So I definitely am a fan of the stuff that he's been in. I know he was in. Gosh, I feel like the only movie I've seen him in was. Now that I think about it, Smurfs 2. Smurfs 2. He was the grandfather in Smurfs 2. So yeah, he's a very, very entertaining individual. Colin Farrell, everything he's done from the New World to that's a real like throwback. He was in the New World. More recently, he was in the Batman, the Gentleman. Yeah, he was the Penguin. The Penguin in he was the Penguin in the Batman. The Batman. I greatly enjoyed that movie. Wouldn't go so far as to say it's like Oscar worthy, but nice different take on the Batman character. And they actually put him in a fat suit. You know, I mean, they just as easily could have gone with well, they were. I heard that they were going to go with Jonah Hill initially, but the problem was Jonah Hill actually like lost all of his body fat, so then that didn't work. Uh, Colin Farrell showed up though. He definitely showed up and played the Penguin, who's a very iconic Batman villain. Colin Farrell, phenomenal actor. And I now have to check out Banshees of Inisherin. And I think I don't know if I've talked about this on this podcast or not, but I don't really pay that much attention to the Oscars that much. I feel like the amount of Oscar nominations or Oscar wins that a movie has doesn't like necessarily translate the value of the film. More, what are the takeaways? What are the themes? What can we learn from the films? It's like Khalil said, this podcast is more the 5-course meal. Like, you will be well fed by listening to Cobbs Corner. Like, we give you more like intellectual breakdowns, and his is more like the fast food, the Rotten Tomatoes, Oscars, that sort of thing. But I'm just gonna give you guys like a quick overview of my quick reactions. Avatar: The Way of Water. It did not win Best Picture, although it's the only film in this category that I actually bothered to see. And Avatar: The Way of Water, I saw it in theaters on Christmas. Unfortunately, I did not see it in IMAX. It was 3 hours long, but it was worth it. I think this is how you continue a franchise 13 years later. Yep, 13 years later, because the first Avatar was so groundbreaking back in 2009 for all the filming technology that they used back then, that James Cameron, he had to up the ante. He was very patient with the film. He waited for the film technology to improve. Like in 2017, even, just 5 years before the movie came out, a lot of the underwater motion capture IMAX technology that they used to make this film didn't exist just 5 years before. Definitely didn't exist back in 2009, but just 5 years before this movie came out, a lot of the filming technology did not exist yet. So I greatly enjoyed sitting through this 3-hour long film. Themes of like family and protecting what you love and standing up for what is right. It kind of doubles down on the themes that were introduced in the first Avatar, and it really just continues the story. It expands the universe. It's a perfect sequel. There's no such thing as a perfect film, but it is a perfect sequel. And it is one of the best sequels of the decade so far. But yeah, honored to be nominated. James Cameron, definitely worthy of that Oscar nomination. Top Gun Maverick, heard a lot of great things about it. Tom Cruise, that man is interesting. He's a very interesting character. I mean, just from him as an actor, if we're talking just about him as an actor, just his work. All right, the man has been doing his own stunts since before I was born. He's been acting since before I was born. He's been an action star pretty much my whole life. He's done what 6 Mission Impossibles, and then I think he's got 7 and 8 on the way. I think Mission Impossible 7, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 comes out this year. At some point, I'm gonna have to sit through all 6 Mission Impossible movies. The man's in his 60s now. He's like 60, 61 years old. Like he's an old dude. He's an old dude. I feel like we all forget about the fact that he's only 5'7" by the fact that he does his own stunts. I feel like that's like the distraction. It's like, okay, he's now disclaimer: the average height for men in America is 5'9". Now I'm 6'1", so I'm 4 inches above the national average height. So I feel like I kind of can't really, only guys like me can actually climb for being short. But even 5'7", that's around average height. 5'7". But he does his own stunts. I'm 6'1". I don't think I could do my own stunts. I probably need a stunt double, especially at his age. He's borderline a senior citizen. But more power to him. Honestly, more power to him. He is one of the hardest working men in Hollywood right now. He will always be remembered for doing his own stunts. He will always be remembered for movies like Top Gun, Mission Impossible. Even though I've only sat through the very first Mission Impossible, that's the only one that I've sat through from start to finish. I own Rogue Nation on Blu-ray. I made it through like 3/4 of that movie. Top Gun Maverick. Heard a lot of great things about it. Some friends of mine saw it. That is how you bring back an old franchise. A lot of times with old franchises, they'll try to do a sequel 30 years later, and it just doesn't work. Top Gun Maverick's one of the few where I can see, just from what I've heard, the reviews that it's gotten from regular people and from Rotten Tomatoes, like the audience score, Rotten Tomatoes score, I can see why it's gotten its Oscar nomination. Women talking. Let's see. All Quiet on the Western Front. I do like a good war drama, so I'll have to check that one out. Elvis. I know the actor Austin Butler. He was also nominated for our best category and for our next category, best actor. He hosted Saturday Night Live. He did the Christmas episode of Saturday Night Live. I think he's a talented individual. He's a talented actor. I did not see the Elvis movie in theaters. Just given the fact that I'm going to keep it 1,000. The man was a pedophile. He married his wife when he was 20. He was 24 and she was 14. That's when they started dating. Nobody really talks about this. And then she practically forced him to marry him when she was 18. When she was 18 and he was 28. So he, married someone who was 10 years younger than him. On top of that, he appropriated and stole from a ton of black artists. He is not the king of rock and roll. I'm not denying that Elvis had talent, but he definitely appropriated and stole from Chuck Berry and numerous other black artists. So I made a conscious decision not to see the movie in theaters. I might check it out later on and let you guys know what I think about the movie itself. But Elvis, as an individual, not the biggest fan of his. So I mean, that movie's like, you have a biopic about Elvis, it's whatever. On to the next category, best actor. Brendan Fraser won for The Whale. I am a huge fan of roles when you see actors will either get in shape or get out of shape for roles. Christian Bale, dude, has gotten out of shape for numerous roles. He got out of shape for, 2005. He lost like 50 pounds for The Machinist. Like he really slimmed down. 2004, my bad. The Machinist, he slimmed down for that role. He had to gain all that weight back for Batman Begins, which came out in 2005. So he had less than a year to train and get all that muscle back and then keep it on for The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. 2013, he put on some body fat for American Hustle. and then slimmed down for Hostiles in 2017. 2018, he played Vice President Dick Cheney, which he got fat for. I almost didn't recognize him in that role. Brendan Fraser, The Whale. It's like the first movie I've seen him in a while. I want to say the last movie I saw him in was Journey to the Center of the Earth. So yeah, Brendan Fraser. Heard a lot of great things about this man, about The Whale. So, props to Brendan Fraser. I have no problem with him winning. Austin Butler, Best Actor nomination. I agree. Yeah, for Elvis. Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin. Although I have not seen either Elvis or the Banshees of Inisherin, I have seen other works that these two fine gentlemen have been a part of, and I'm a huge fan of their work. Best Actress, Michelle Yeoh. Yes, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, I am requiring myself to actually watch this movie, and Michelle Yeoh is a very talented individual. Crazy Rich Asians, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and even Shang-Chi. Yep. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So Michelle Yeoh is a very talented individual. So for her to win Best Actress, good job, Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences. I have no idea who anyone else in this category are. So I'll be moving on to Best Original Song. Best Original Song, Natu won. I have a problem with this one. And this is this is probably because, now disclaimer, the only song in this category that I can actually remember myself listening to is Lift Me Up, Rihanna and Thames for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I saw in theaters. Now, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, with everything that happened behind the scenes, from COVID to losing our brother Chadwick Boseman, rest in power, to complications like during filming and whatnot, I think the movie was still phenomenal. 9 out of 10. Give it 9 out of 10. It was Rihanna's official return to music. She took a little break after first getting pregnant, realizing she was having a baby and then having the baby, and now she's come back to that was her official return to music. I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever had a great soundtrack, as did the first one. This one had an original song. Having that original song from Rihanna, honored to be nominated and everything, but I personally feel like, especially like the pop culture powerhouse that Black Panther, that the first one and the second one, despite everything, Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences, you should have given the Oscar to Rihanna. I think. That's just me, Feel free to agree, disagree in the comments below. Best International Feature Film, and I know we're kind of running out of time, because I know I said, I said earlier I would only keep you guys for an hour. All Quiet on the Western Front, Best International Feature Film. Haven't seen any of them. Best Supporting Actor, Ke Huy Quan. I want to say this is his return to acting. Ke Huy Quan, I think he's going to be in some other upcoming films as well. But the actor who played Short Round in the Indiana Jones movies, he was in The Goonies, Encino Man, Finding Ohana. So, child actor who has returned to acting. And I want to see, does he have any upcoming movies? The Electric State, The Gray Man. Oh no, that's people also search for. Best Supporting Actress, Jamie Lee Curtis. I ain't got no problem with that. Angela Bassett, although I was really hoping for Angela Bassett to win that Oscar, but Best Supporting Actress. At least Angela Bassett was nominated. All right. Again, Everything Everywhere All at Once got a lot of recognition at the Oscars. Best director too. Daniel Kwan. I really got to check this movie out and give you guys my honest opinion. Spielberg got nominated for The Fablemans. Best animated feature, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I did not see any of these movies because I don't have any kids. I caught a little bit of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio from just through my little sister. Guillermo del Toro, he's definitely a great filmmaker. Everything from Hellboy to Pan's Labyrinth to Blade 2. But Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Okay, I heard Turning Red wasn't good. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I heard that Puss in Boots was pretty good. I heard that it was kind of a trial, either a trial run for Shrek 5 or a setup for Shrek 5. Why are we doing a fifth Shrek? Best original score, All Quiet on the Western Front 1. Babylon, Justin Hurwitz, you got nominated. I did see Babylon in theaters. I loved it. I still listen to the soundtrack. I still listen to a few of the songs here and there. They just get me going, guys. I'm telling you, like, best original score, Babylon should have won that. Best documentary feature, haven't seen any of these movies, so I have nothing to say about them. Best action short film, no idea. Best adapted screenplay, Glass Onion. Okay, Women Talking won. Best documentary short subject, haven't seen any of them. Again, best original screenplay, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Banshees of Inisherin got nominated. Avatar: The Way of Water, best visual effects. Yes. I have no problem with the Batman and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever being nominated and losing to Avatar: The Way of Water, as long as they lost to Avatar: The Way of Water and not to Top Gun: Maverick or All Quiet on the Western Front. Because, Avatar: The Way of Water was amazing. All right. Please add me. Best animated short film, haven't seen any of them. Best cinematography, again, haven't seen any of these films. Best makeup and hairstyling, okay. So Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and the Batman both getting nominated. Amazing. Ruth Carter, best costume design. Yes, Ruth Carter as the winner. I think she won best costume design in 2018 as well for the first Black Panther. So, Ruth Carter, she's a very, very, very amazing woman. All right, very creative, very, very creative woman. We're not just breaking the glass ceiling. We are tearing down the brick wall so that the entire building shatters, so we can then rebuild. All right, we're not just breaking the glass ceiling. All right, doesn't stop there. So shout out to Ruth Carter. Shout out to everybody who worked on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Babylon. Babylon, we got nominated. You got nominated. I'm glad that Babylon lost to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Best film editing, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Gotta check it out. Academy, you guys really love this movie. Best production design. Okay, Avatar, Way of Water, and Babylon were both nominated. Good. Best sound, Top Gun: Maverick won, but the Batman and Avatar: The Way of Water were both nominated. Okay. So, yeah. That's the Oscar. That's the 95th Oscars in 2023. I am not the biggest, I really try my best to watch the movies on my own and sort of draw my own conclusions. I highly recommend that you guys do it yourself. In the age of streaming, you have more of an ability to watch these movies, those that have gotten nominated, those that have won, watch them on your own and draw your own conclusion. And I like to sort of analyze and break down these films and even do my audio commentaries for these films to kind of dissect what are the themes, what are the takeaways. I sort of look at films in a more like educational, more comprehensive manner, as opposed to what do the critics say, what do the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences say. Let's not forget that this is the same group of people, all right, not the exact same group of people, but the same like governing body that decided that Crash was the best picture of 2004. Even Jack Nicholson was shocked when he opened up that award. Okay, so yeah, I mean, with the Oscars, it's like, okay, so we got some movies that so now I'm like, after seeing all these movies, many of which I had never heard of before just now, others that I had heard of and haven't seen, it's like, okay, so this film was nominated for an Oscar or won the Oscar for such and such award. Like, now I have to actually go and check it out myself. So yeah, I view these award shows like the Oscars, maybe even the MTV Movie and TV Awards, any awards ceremony with media attached to it, with movies and film, even the SAGs, even the Screen Actors Guild, Primetime Emmys. They're just pretty much giving me more movies and TV shows to go and watch. So now I've got some ideas for future episodes, for movies that I have to actually sit back and watch on my own. But yeah, that's the Oscars. Let me know in the comments, guys. Like, what are your thoughts on this year's Oscars? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean, some of those I agree with, and others I disagree with. So just feel free to let me know, guys. Let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the 95th Academy Awards? The reason why they're called Oscars, they're really kind of smiting Oscar Micheaux, who was probably the very first African-American filmmaker back in the 1920s during the silent era. He created a lot of quote-unquote race films. I highly recommend you guys look up Oscar Micheaux. I don't have the time to go into detail right now, but look up Oscar Micheaux. That's why he's the reason why they're called the Oscars. All right, and rapid fire, going through my Instagram stories over the past week. Just kind of going through my archive. Make sure you guys are following my Instagram, Cobbs _corner_podcast. Link in the description. All right. So yeah, Doctor Strange 3 is coming out in 2026. I said it was so far away. I mean, yeah, 2026, that's a whole 3 years away. So I mean, we got something to look forward to. We got something to look forward to with Doctor Strange 3. I liked Multiverse of Madness. It was okay. It wasn't as good as the first one. The MCU is creating its first original superhero now, so I'm really looking forward to what they are able to pull off with that. And can't wait for Echo. Can't wait to see more of Daredevil and Wilson Fisk. I am really, 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 really doing my best to watch the entire Defender saga beforehand, at least Daredevil. At least the 3 seasons of Daredevil, guys. It's a lot of content. I'm a full-time student. Bear with me. John Bernthal is coming back as Punisher in Daredevil Born Again, as is Jessica Jones. I think Jessica Jones is coming back as well. Definitely check out the episode that I did with Khalil on the Comic Boys podcast. We talked about the Oscars. We talked about Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan. Yep, Jonathan Majors, King the Conqueror. Yep. And he did in his recent film Creed 3 with Michael B. Jordan, sexiest man alive. It's rumored that the Punisher is going to appear in Armor Wars, and he will wear the War Machine suit as it happened in the comics. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see it. There will be a Midnight Angels series. Filming will begin next spring of 2024. That's when production will start on the Midnight Angels. series, sort of an offshoot of the Dora Milaje. I can't wait to see where they go with that storyline. One of the biggest things to come out of Black Panther or Wakanda Forever. Dwayne Johnson has finally broken his silence on the whole Henry Cavill Superman exit, essentially saying he had a plan. We got that cameo from Superman in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, but then pretty much the team that he was on, if like the DC, if Warner Bros. Was a football team, then Henry Cavill was sort of like the quarterback who had been winning games for them, but then the team decided to go with a new coach who then replaced the quarterback. So, yeah, the plan was they were going to have Henry Cavill, but then Peter Safran and James Gunn. I'm still curious to see what they're going to do with the DCU going forward and who's going to replace Henry Cavill as Superman. They decided to get rid of Henry Cavill and probably also getting rid of Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. Who knows? Suicide Squad's Ayer cut gets optimistic update from DC director. I'm actually curious to see if they release an Ayer cut, the director's cut of the first Suicide Squad, because let me tell you guys, that freaking the first Suicide Squad from 2016, I did not see it in theaters. I watched it on stream. It was not good. To say the least, it was not good. I did not enjoy it. I still listen to the soundtrack every now and then. The soundtrack was fire. A lot of licensed music, but the soundtrack was amazing. But the movie itself just didn't work for me. I loved the Suicide Squad, the soft reboot of the Suicide Squad franchise. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie's an amazing actress in her own right, but her as Harley Quinn, amazing. I'd love to see where they go, where they're going to go with the character of Harley Quinn. Going forward, what her story will be in the DCU. So I'm actually seeing Shazam: Fury of the Gods. It comes out in theaters worldwide tomorrow, February. Episode's almost over, guys. Tomorrow, March 17th, 2023, I will be seeing it on Saturday, and I'll be doing an episode with Lee. We will be Lee from Lights Camera Rant. We will be live on Twitch this Saturday, March 18th. We'll be going live on Twitch at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely mark your calendars, guys. That is all I've got for today's episode. Be sure to check out my Shazam and Black Adam audio commentaries. They are available everywhere. And subscribe to Cobbs Corner on YouTube and on all listening platforms. Follow Cobbs Corner, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on your post notifications because I drop a new episode every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you don't want to miss out. I will talk to all of you in the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed your stay here at Cobbs Corner. Peace.